Part 4. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 31. After returning home, Wen Nuan went to take a shower angrily. Han Qian heated up some food. When he was ready to eat, Yan Qingqing called and told Han Qian that she had taken over the land. If he failed in his plan tomorrow, she asked someone to remove his arm. The sound of the antique mobile phone was very loud. Yan Qingqing's words were clearly heard by Wen Nuan. She cursed a vixen in a low voice. As a result, Yan Qingqing suddenly let out a scream and shouted, "My husband no snacks!" hung up the phone. Nuan, who had already calmed down, thought of the phone call Han Qian received that day when he was playing basketball. It turned out to be Yan Qingqing, a bitch. The war between the two women seemed to have been provoked. Han Qian was still looking at his phone in confusion and whispering, "Is Yan Qingqing getting married?" After the meal, Nuan returned to the room expressionlessly and did not ask any further questions about Han Qian. After a busy day, Han Qian took a shower and lay down early, thinking about the high-level meeting tomorrow. He took out his mobile phone and called Suliang to ask how the preparations were going. The moment the call was hung up, the roommate the door was pushed open. Wen Nuan was wearing cartoon pajamas, her little fists were clenched tightly and her mouth was bulging, staring at Han Qian. Han Qian stood up quickly when he saw this. He remembered the nightmare he had had a few days ago. "Han Qian, I will fight with you." The 1.72-meter tall man pounced on Han Qian. Han Qian lay on the tatami, with Wen Nuan riding on Han Qian's back. Han Qian really didn't dare to make trouble with this young lady who had no athletic cells. He was afraid of accidentally hurting her, so he lay on the tatami and said helplessly, "Why are you so crazy? Yan Qingqing and I have no ambiguous relationship at all. She is not as good looking as you, not as tall as you, and your temperament is worse than hers. Even if I am blind, I can't let such a great beauty like you go. Don't be afraid of Yan Qingqing, the Hedong lion. You are about to turn into a rouge leopard now. Liar. Han Qian, you still owe me money." Wen Nuan gave Han Qian a gentle slap on the back of his head, which was not much different from tickling. Han Qian suddenly laughed. "It's so warm. I didn't expect your butt to be quite fleshy. You rascal." Nuan let out a scream and hit Han Qian on the back of the head with his heel. He blushed and ran back to the room, covering his butt. Han Qian chuckled and closed his eyes to sleep. He opened his eyes early the next day, not daring to be late. When he put on his clothes and went downstairs, he found that breakfast had been prepared. Han Qian looked at Wen Nuan sitting at the dining table with a confused expression, wearing a white suit. Putting on light makeup and putting on earrings that he hadn't worn for a long time, Han Qian walked nervously to the dining table step by step, squinting his eyes warmly and smiling softly. "Brother Qian, it's time to have breakfast." This sentence fell in Han Qian's ears no less than the sentence "De Lang, it's time to drink medicine." Nuan, who would definitely not get up before 7 o'clock, would go downstairs to buy breakfast. As well as today's smart attire, Han Qian always felt that something was wrong. This was too abnormal for Wen Nuan. He had not seen her like this in 3 years. Han Qian swallowed and forced a smile. I'm not hungry. My dear, it's better to call me Han Qian because I'm in a hurry to get to work." Nuan squinted his eyes and smiled softly. "Brother Qian, Glory has to clock in at 9 o'clock. Do you want to pick up Yan Qingqing so early? If not, you might as well sit down. Of course, if you need me to drive you to work, I can." Knowing that this matter would not be easily overturned, Han Qian sat down and ate fried dough sticks with sweat on his forehead. His heart was about to collapse. If Wen Nuan continued to make trouble like this, he would probably be tortured. Crazy, Nuan looked at Han Qian with one hand on his chin, not moving his chopsticks, and said with a gentle and affectionate smile. Brother Chien, do you want me to give you a car? You won't have to squeeze in the bus in the morning. The Raptor is very comfortable to drive, right? It's not expensive either. Can't get enough gas. Then I'll take you to work. Are you afraid that others won't know about our relationship? This will also stop those little vixens from thinking about grabbing people from my warm hands. Han Chien, let me tell you, before you pay me back, your label belongs to warmth. After putting down the words, Wen Nuan picked up the car keys and stood up to leave. He slammed the entrance door. Han Chien, who was eating fried dough sticks, sighed feebly. He took out his mobile phone and dialed Li Jinhe's number. He didn't wait for the caller after he was connected. Opening his mouth, Han Chien sighed. Mom, I beg you to take away the warmth. When we got married, we treated each other with respect. After the divorce, she punched and kicked me. I couldn't bear it anymore. Li Jinhe had just woken up and had not yet come back to his senses. He listened to Han Chien's complaints and said doubtfully. Can't bear it anymore? No money? Mom can just transfer the money to you. Wen Nuan is indeed a bit lavish with money. If you need money, tell Mom. Anyway, Lao Wen and I's money will belong to you too sooner or later. After hearing this, Han Chien started to cry. His mother-in-law didn't take their divorce to heart at all. Han Chien held his phone and sighed helplessly. Mom, it's not about money. Now I work at Honor Group, and then at work, forget it, just rest, I'm going to work. It's better not to talk to Li Jinhe. If she knows what Yan Qingqing said about my grassland, my horses, I can play whatever I want, she will probably be mad. By then, Wen Nuan may still be here, but he will be here. Glory resigned. Han Chien believed that the most correct decision and the wrong decision in his life was to divorce Nuan early, but he had to admit that Nuan's appearance changed his life. Go out to work. Looking at it one day at a time, I don't want these messes, so I should pay off Nuan's money first, but how can I not think about it? I have to go back with Nuan to celebrate the new year. When the time comes, Han Chien will have a headache just thinking about it. He clocked in listlessly, walked into the office and lay down on the table with a groan. Sul Yang, who was flirting with his colleague's beauty, decisively gave up her beauty and came to Han Chien's side, saying softly. Brother Chien, you are finally here. I heard that you and Mr. Yan left together last night. Han Chien raised his head and looked at Sul Yang sadly, unable to reply. I would rather not go with her, Liang do you know how I spent yesterday at the Metropark dinner? The wire brush almost brushed my face. Brother Anla Chien, you are a happy instrument for rich women. I think your face is fine. Mr. Yan will not be cruel. It's not Mr. Yan. Liang, if two women quarrel because of you, what should you do? Sleeping together under the big quilt, the rain and dew are all wet. As expected, there was no way to communicate. Han Chien stood up angrily and wanted to go out for a smoke. At this time, Yang Lan came running outside and pulled Han Chien and Sul Yang to the 14th floor. Stop dawdling. Mr. Yan has a meeting an hour early today. He has been attacked by Vice President Gao and his senior executives for an hour. Is the plan ready? Success or failure depends on you too. Han Chien took a deep breath. It's finally here. The second chapter is here. The third chapter will be very late. I will try to send it out around 12 o'clock. I wish you a happy new year then, 2021, come on. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 32. Gao Jixi's outfit today is very alternative, but it also exudes his alternative charm. He wears a brown-red custom-made suit with this printed shirt. He deliberately opened two buttons of the shirt, and his ears have platinum earlobes of about 3 centimeters. and the beard that matches his personality is almost the same as the mad dog Seiki in the Japanese drama Shinjuku Swan. After knowing that Yan Qingqing spent 4 million to acquire this piece of land, his heart was about to burst with joy. This piece of land would definitely lose money. As long as he lost money, Yan Qingqing would be impeached by the board of directors and step down. It was his brother-in-law's turn to take the position of chairman. Since the morning meeting, he had led several confidants from the project department, investment department, business department, and public relations department to attack Yan Qingqing. The pressure from multiple department managers had already made Yan Qingqing a little embarrassed. Now Gao Jishi is forcing Yan Qingqing to. Qingqing took pictures of what she wanted to do with this piece of land. Yan Qingqing told them that they were going to build a shopping mall, but she couldn't answer the questions directly after that. Just when Gao Xingyi bared his teeth and smiled with pride, the door of the conference room was pushed open. He nodded to Yan Qingqing with an apologetic look and whispered, "Mr. Yan, Han Qian, and Suliang are here." It finally came, and Yan Qingqing breathed a sigh of relief. If Han Qian failed, she would have no way to end it. At the same time, she was a little annoyed at her own impulse, and even more helpless. Han Qian walked into the conference room, glanced at the Glory executives curiously, and was slightly startled when he saw Gao Jixi. This guy is a bit handsome. The 35-year-old Gao Xing is indeed very handsome in his exaggerated dress, with a bit of ruffianism and a bit of alternative elegance. Gao Fulai smiled at Han Qian, and Han Qian smiled back. The smiles of the two fell into Yan Qingqing's eyes, which made her feel sick. Gao Fulai was not a good person, and Han Qian was definitely not a bad person. The two guys seemed to feel sympathy for each other when they met each other. Of course, this was what Yan Qingqing thought. Han Qian, please stop dragging your feet. Prepare your plan and tell everyone. Make a decision as soon as possible. I also want to see whether I will lose money or make money on this piece of land. Han Qian smiled and nodded, motioning Suliang to go to the projector to connect to the computer, and then smiled at Yan Qingqing. Don't worry, Mr. Yan, you have a good eye, so you won't lose money. Yan Qingqing did not answer, but Gao Xingyi leaned back slightly, raised two stool legs and smiled at Han Qian. Young man, you are very confident in yourself. You don't need to show me the pictures. They are just showy. Can you tell me your preliminary plan first? Han Qian frowned slightly. At this time, Yan Qingqing asked Han Qian to tell Vice President Gao the plan. Only then did Han Qian realize that this unusual handsome uncle was the Vice President Gao Jixian mentioned by Yang Lan. Han Qian grinned, raised his hand and scratched his head. I'm new here and haven't gotten to know everyone in the company yet. President Gao won't mind, right? Of course, I hate those long-winded rules and like capable young people. If there are any omissions, please give me some advice. My initial plan is to build a high-end building materials mall and raise funds by renting out shops. Our General Affairs Department has already investigated the market. What our city lacks now is a high-end building materials mall and decoration. Customers want to spend big money on building materials but don't have the space. I think this is a good idea. Han Qian said with a smile, and Gao Xingcheng also smiled. It's a good idea. You can think of other people who can think of it. Opposite this land is the decoration city. How can we compete with established businesses? This doesn't seem to be an easy task. In addition, you should also know that the decoration city is just a small town. 2 floors, if you want to build a high-end business, the lack of floors is also a problem. Have you heard of sensory impact? Everyone in the conference room was looking at Han Qian and Gao Jishi, listening to their conversation. Yan Qingqing and Yang Lan were a little nervous at this moment. They didn't expect that Gao Jishi would also do research on this area, but Han Qian not afraid, he smiled again. Vice President Gao is very thoughtful. I have also taken into account what you said. We have already inquired about the prices of the decoration city. Most of the consumers are in the middle and lower reaches. Moreover, the shopping malls are relatively chaotic, and the environment and service attitude are very poor. We cooperated with Fenghua Decoration in the early stage of their competitive approach, so we don't have to worry about customer sources. As for the height of the floor, it cannot be super high. We can dig down and create a hollow in the middle to give people a spacious and bright feeling. Gao Xing'ai stood up and stretched his muscles, frowned slightly and said again. Is there a problem with airplane noise? Only a few bathrooms and fire escapes have windows in the entire building. The rest are all enclosed buildings to reduce the impact of noise. Use lamps for all lighting. The hollow ceiling in the middle of the hall is made of tempered glass. The sunlight during the day will shine directly from the third floor to the underground floor. This will not only provide lighting, but also increase the prices of the shops in the circular corridor, because customers must pass in front of them, and it is stipulated that no stools, lights, signs, etc. are allowed in the corridor, and no purchasing agent is allowed to block soliciting customers. Investment problem. We have already spread the word to the outside world and made a verbal agreement with Fenghua Decoration in order to disclose business opportunities to them. I have thought about a question. Most of the people who open restaurants know how to cook, and those who do hairdressing must understand fashion trends. Those who drive taxis must be able to drive, and those who run the building materials business must also be people who understand building materials. People in these decoration companies will tell their relatives and friends to seize this opportunity. There will also be some decoration companies that are not in good times. Changing careers, after all, it is not difficult to open a store. You only need to get an agency right. Of course, this will also trouble the marketing department. In addition, they are promised that as long as they prepare to move in advance, the advertising space outside can be provided free of charge during the construction of the project. They use. Has the withdrawn funds been counted? There should be about 50 shops on the first floor. If the location is good, you can get back about 1 million yuan a year. There are 4 floors in total. The money for the land can be recovered in about 1 year. For small shops, it takes 2 years. The cost of construction can also be recovered. As long as the operation is good and no mistakes are made, the funds can be recovered in about 2 years, and you can even make a little profit. Approval note. The land belongs to the Yamanmen, and they don't want to see it abandoned. Besides, we honorably gave Li a favor and should return it. Gao Jingcheng always had a smile on his face, but his heart was already in turmoil. Where did this Han Qian come from? And he appeared from Yan Qingqing's general department. The appearance of this guy not only broke his heart. The plan gave Yan Qingqing a chance to get a blessing in disguise. The plan was feasible, and with all the senior executives present, Gao Jingcheng couldn't find fault. If the news reached the board of directors, even if he was a relative of the emperor, he wouldn't be able to justify it. At this time, Sun Ya from the Public Relations Department suddenly spoke. Han Qian, what you said is just talk on paper. In reality, it's not as simple as you think. Mr. Sun also knew that it would be successful when he went to do public relations and discuss business. Everything depends on people. I believe that with our glorious power and reputation, we should be able to complete this plan. Yang Lan, who had always been submissive, suddenly targeted Sun Ya. This was a big deal to others. The manager of the marketing department smiled and agreed to the plan. The manager of the business department also raised his hand to express his agreement, and the business department will work hard to assist the general department in completing this plan. The manager of the business department is also a woman, in her 30s. It is said that her surname is Bai. She is a very capable sister. When Han Qian looked at her, she actually gave Han Qian a wink. Han Qian quickly lowered his head. Now a Yan Qingqing almost tortured Han Qian crazy. Gao Xing'ai looked at the situation in the conference room. Since it couldn't be changed, he would go along and give the young man a favor and see if he could win over him. Not bad, not bad. Young people have great ideas. Glory needs talents like you. Since no one objects, Director Yang will ask your general department to refine the plan and then send it to the planning department. Finally, Mr. Yan and I will sign it. Yes, not bad. Very good. Gao Xing'ai bit the last three words very hard. After the meeting, when Han Qian was packing his computer and preparing to leave with Sul Yang, Yan Qingqing suddenly rushed over and bit Han Qian's forehead hard. Han Qian was in pain. Yelling, Sul Yang looked dumbfounded. Mr. Yan's kiss? Happy New Year. Do what you say, so. Give me your recommendation, vote quickly. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 33. Han Qian has been covering his forehead with his hands all morning. Yan Qingqing is definitely mentally ill, and she is seriously ill. How can she open her mouth and bite someone's forehead? Did he even leave tooth marks? He threatened Sul Yang not to talk too much, otherwise he would be silenced. The plan was passed, and Han Qian and others were in a good mood. The marketing department and project department sent some work. The plan was given by the general department, and they only listened to some oral statements. They needed some detailed information and copywriting. Yang Lan readily accepted the request of the two departments. After the work was divided, the staff of the general department were dissatisfied. Li Dongsheng grumbled after receiving the work. Sister Yang, why should the work of their marketing department and project department be handed over to our general department? You should be more assertive. This way you will be bullied by them and we will be implicated. It will be annoying to death. Yang Lan, who was preparing work for others, felt a little embarrassed. At this time, Li Dongsheng added another sentence. I don't do this job. You can find someone else. Don't you like Sister Yang, Deputy Lu? I'll give you a chance to show off. The atmosphere in the office became very awkward due to Li Dongsheng's few words. Lu Zhulong was determined to help Yang Lan complete his work, but he didn't want Yang Lan to lose face. Yang Lan looked at Li Dongsheng, who was playing the game with a stiff face. After a long silence, laughed awkwardly. Dongsheng, this is Mr. Yan's instructions. I didn't see Mr. Yan. I saw people from the project department and marketing department. Isn't Han Qian very willing to work? You are looking for them like a loser. Don't disturb me playing games. Yang Lan was even more embarrassed. All the staff in the general department were looking at her. This Li Dongsheng didn't save Yang Lan at all. He was chatting with Sul Yang. Han Qian stood up and frowned. He didn't know that this was a three-word curse. It's Yang Lan or him. Looking at Li Dongsheng, who was in his mid-twenties, thin and wearing a pair of rimless glasses, Han Qian frowned. If you want to do it, just do it. If you don't want to do it, just shut up. Don't call me by my name. I know you very well. The staff of the general department all turned their attention to Han Qian again. They knew that this Han Qian was not a fuel-efficient lamp, but Yang Lan and Lu Zhulong both knew that this young man did not have a good temper and could fight with Mr. Yan. Will the person be good-tempered? Li Dongsheng slowly raised his head, looked at Han Qian from the corner of his eye, and sneered contemptuously. Poor guy, what are you saying? Can I listen to you? Han Qian unbuttoned his collar. Seeing this, Sul Yang quickly stood up and pulled Han Qian, whispering a few words in his ear. After hearing Sul Yang's words, Han Qian frowned. This Li Dongsheng is still a little bit better. Road. Seeing Yang Lan looking at him with pleading eyes, Han Qian snorted and sat down. When Li Dongsheng saw that Han Qian was giving up, he immediately sneered and muttered something dirty. The girl sitting next to him couldn't stand it anymore. She frowned and whispered, "Dongsheng, stop talking. If you don't want to do it, I'll help you." Hearing the girl's voice, Li Dongsheng turned around and smiled, handed the folder to her and chuckled softly. "Thank you, Sigwan. I will help you clear the shopping cart later. This is what my mother told me." Staff member Wu Sijuan did not answer. He raised his head and smiled at Yang Lan. The incident was finally resolved. Han Qian frowned and felt uncomfortable. He softly told Suliang and Yang Lan what they should do and then stood up and walked out. After arriving at the general department, he stood in the corridor, lit a cigarette, and frowned at the passing vehicles. I really didn't expect that the general department actually hid a few dragons. Li Dongshen's family had some background. In the company, Yang Lan and even Yan Qingqing had to give him some face. He came to the general department just to mess around. Specifically, Suliang didn't know what the background was. It seems that these guys are becoming more and more dissatisfied with him. Tick-tock. Tick-tock. The sound of high heels reached Han Qian's ears. He turned around and found that Yan Qingqing had arrived. The woman stretched out her hand to take the cigarette from Han Qian's hand, pressed it on the windowsill and crushed it out, frowning. "The company does not allow smoking in public places. Don't force me to let you clean the toilet." Yan Qingqing's voice was very soft. Han Qian took a step back and nodded with a smile. He was really a little scared of this woman. Thinking of the scene when she provoked Wen Qing, and thinking of the bite in the morning, Han Qian felt a little bit in his heart. Yan Qingqing held her hand in her hand. The portfolio was handed to Han Qian. "Here is 80,000 yuan. If you include the 20,000 yuan given to you, it is exactly 100,000 yuan. This is the first advance payment. I plan to pay you 100,000 yuan after getting permission from the Yamanman." Han Qian took the file bag, opened it, took a look, and then chuckled. "Thank you, Mr. Yan. I hope Mr. Yan won't delay for too long. I really need the money." Yan Qingqing smiled at Han Qian. The gentle look and the smile made Han Qian's heart beat faster. Of course, it was only 2 times. Maybe he saw Yan Qian who was different from the past. "Qingqing," the latter said softly. "Approximately how much do you need? How long will it take if it's urgent? There was an accident a few years ago and I owe 4 million. I have to pay it off by this time next year. Go grab the lottery ticket. Maybe you can still have a chance. I will try to give you about 300,000 yuan before the year, but you have to be prepared to only get 200,000 yuan. Do you understand what I mean?" "Yeah, I know. If you let me succeed, I will also take care of you when I pay you. There are a few special people in the general department. You should restrain your temper and don't provoke them. You can tolerate it if you can. You can handle other matters. Just think about it yourself, and more. I'm going to change the company's system for you. You won't come to work on time without fining you. From now on, you will be fined for being late and fined for smoking randomly. Han Qian, you should be proud, you single-handedly let the company customize a rule for you. Does it count if you bite me? That's the reward. Piss off." Han Qian turned back to the general department angrily. He didn't want to talk to Yan Qingqing, a tiger bitch, so he quietly handed 10,000 yuan to Suliang, promising 20,000 yuan, and then went to Yang Ian's office to put the 10,000 yuan in his hand. On the table, Han Qian chuckled. "Originally, I was thinking of inviting the big guys out to have fun, but now that they are like this, I don't even bother to pay attention. Sister Yang, you are too gentle. I can't refuse the money I agreed to yesterday. Yang Lan was in a bad mood, looked at the money on the table and sighed. Xiao Qian, I have always been thinking about helping them. I think about them as children who have just stepped out of school. I don't want them to discover the malicious nature of life and society. Making money is not as simple as they think. It is easy to waste time, but after a few years, comprehensive what if the department is disbanded? They are too old and have no work experience. What should they do? You, mother, why do you worry so much? If you don't endure hardship, you won't know sweetness. You accept the money. I'm going to eat. I'm a little hungry. I'll go out in the afternoon and take an hour off. Go ahead. Yang Lan did not refuse pretentiously. When Han Qian walked out of Yang Ian's office, Lu Zhuolong appeared next to Han Qian like a ghost and whispered. Little Han Qian, please ignore Li Dongsheng. His mother is very powerful and she loves him very much. Han Qian asked with a frown. Mama's boy. Lu Zhuolong didn't answer. Han Qian shrugged and shouted to Sul Yang. The two left the office without going to the company. Sul Yang took Han Qian to go out to eat, he was treating him, and Han Qian also wanted to save money. After going out, Han Qian remembered something and called Nuan Nuan. Nuan seemed to be in a meeting. He whispered that he would call back after opening the account, and then hung up the phone. Sul Yang asked with a smile. Sister-in-law. Ex-sister-in-law. Then Yan is always your sister-in-law. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 34. Only then did Sul Yang find out that Han Qian was divorced, and threatened to take Han Qian out for a night of fun. Recently, he met a young man from a bar named Ma Kexin. As they were talking, the two of them walked into a hotel. It was neither big nor small. One private room, 4 dishes, and 1 beer. I want the best. The best one is Qingdao Jun's Hung. 12 yuan a bottle. Sul Yang opened 2 glasses of beer and smiled. Brother Qianer, you have a holiday tomorrow, why don't you go and have a cool night? Han Qian took a sip of beer and smiled. You're so cool, your business is over. I still have to be busy for a while. I have to have dinner with the landlady and her family tomorrow. You gave me some help when renting the house. We don't want to owe any favors. Sul Yang took a sip of wine, exclaimed that he felt comfortable, and then smiled. Brother Qianer, you are too clear about interpersonal communication, right? Some things cannot be solved with a meal, and some things do not need to be burdened. Although we do not say that it is natural for others to treat us well, we must also think then say that the other person may just want to be nice to you, rather than asking you for anything in return, just say me. We have known each other for a short time. I don't care what your purpose is for treating me. I just know you and treat me well. I don't say how I will repay you, just drink and drink. Han Qian smiled helplessly. Be nice to you, I just can't do it alone. Stop nagging, let's drink less at work. Didn't Mr. Yan say he would reward us? I'll drink with you then. Oh. I forgot to tell you, Yu Dongshen's mother is very close to the company's executives. I don't know what he does specifically, but this Yu Dongshen is almost a mama's boy. He came to the general department to experience life. He has fallen in love with Wu Sigwan, so just ignore him in the future. Oh. 2 bottles of beer per person, Sul Yang paid the bill, and Han Qian went to the bank to deposit money. When he just walked into the door of glory, Nuan called back. Han Qian motioned for Sul Yang to leave first. Han Qian told Nuan on the phone that he wanted to call the landlord and his mother tomorrow. The two of them came to eat at home. If when Nuan found it inconvenient, she would go out for shopping first. This was wrong. Nuan Wen yelled at Han Qian on the other end with her cell phone. Is my sister shady or has she embarrassed you? Are you going to take Yan Qingqing home? Then I'm going to watch a movie with Lin Zonghung. Go, watch whatever you want. Yan Qiqing's matter is going to be difficult, right? Do you like to eat or not? Wait, my sister will pick you up tonight. I have something else to do, so I want to say goodbye. Wen Nuan just hung up the phone. The secretary pushed in the door and told Wen Nuan that Mr. Lin asked Vice President Wen if he had time in the evening. The chairman wanted to ask Vice President Wen to go home for dinner. Wen Nuan looked at the secretary, and the secretary looked at Nuan Wen. Then when Wen asked her if she wanted a bonus this month, the little secretary immediately smiled. Rejected again? Lin Zonghung wanted to have dinner with Nuan since he came back. He didn't have time in the evening. At noon at the company, Lin Zonghung was ready to have breakfast. But he found out that Nuan would have dinner every morning before coming back to work. In the past, this woman would sleep until she woke up naturally. He barely wakes up and rarely eats breakfast in the morning. How come this has changed after 3 years? It's time for breakfast, I'm not late, and I don't like him anymore. Lin Zonghung didn't understand what the problem was, and he didn't believe that Han Qian could shake his presence in Nuan's heart. Lin Zonghung thought about it and decided to go and ask Nuan what happened in person. He just opened the elevator when he went downstairs. He found Wen, dressed in white, standing outside the elevator, turning the car keys on his fingers. It was very playful, but Lin Zonghung's eyes fell on those slender legs, wearing a small suit with straight trousers, which was so cute the high heels make the warm legs look more slender. Xiao Nuan, I'm going to find you. Lin Zonghung spoke warmly before he came back to his senses and found Lin Zonghung in the elevator. He walked into the elevator with a smile and said softly. Looking for me? Oh. Are you talking about Uncle Lin asking me to go to dinner? Sorry, I really can't go. I have made an appointment with a friend tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. I have to pick someone up after work. When I'm done, I must organize a replacement reception banquet for Mr. Lin. Since you are busy, I can't force you. I will explain it to my dad. Where are you going now, should I see you off? Lin Zonghung maintained his gentlemanly attitude and smiled warmly with narrowed eyes. It's okay now. I want to wash the car. It's not a good idea to ask Mr. Lin to deliver it. If Mr. Lin has time, he can think about the land at the airport. If Glory comes back to life, I'm here. Goodbye, Mr. Lin. Wen Nuan didn't give Lin Zonghung a chance to speak at all, and quickly left the elevator. Thinking of the women's voices on the phone when he was talking to Lin Zonghung, Wen Nuan wanted to scold himself for thinking that he was out of his mind for allowing him to be outside. What a nonsense! I even tried to convince myself that the folk customs in foreign countries were different. Bah! Thinking about it this way, Han Qian is still better than Lin Zonghung, and then he thought of Yan Qiqing's words. My grassland, my horses, I can play with them as I want. Wen Nuan regretted a little. Han Qian should not have been allowed to pay off the 4 million debt. Moreover, he did not want the money in the first place. He just raised it out of shame and some resentment towards Han Qian during the divorce. Every time after that, he just teased Han Qian and found a reason to live in Han Qian's house. Just because of the 4 million and then killed a shameless Yan Qingqing, Wen Nuan felt that he was at a huge loss. While driving, I remembered the phone call that Miss Yan Qing had made to Han Qian, and Wen Nuan was completely blown away. Press the accelerator to the bottom. Half an hour later, the tow truck arrived. The front bumper was scrapped, the headlights were shattered, and the windshield was cracked. Wen Nuan held his arms and looked at the Alfa Romeo being towed away by the trailer. He didn't feel much distress in his heart and didn't have much anger on his face. He stamped his feet and took out his mobile phone to make a call to Li Jinhe. Lao Wen drove my car for a few days, but my car hit a pillar. Li Jinhe on the phone was slightly stunned, then frowned, and asked if Nuan was injured. After hearing that his daughter was safe, he was relieved and whispered, "Isn't your dad's car too old-fashioned to drive? It's not suitable for you young people. How about you drive mine? It's all gathering dust. Didn't Han Jian also say that my car is more suitable for you? Pamela, I also have an electric bike that I can't give to you. I want to ride it to play cards. Your bike is relatively rare and it will take a while to be repaired. Come and get it now. I'm going out later. Didn't you go to Sanya with Lao Wen? Little white-eyed wolf, you are the mother and I am the mother. Do I have to tell you where I am going? If you can't stop me, give me a happy word. Come on, I have to pick someone up tonight." Lin Zongheng was standing behind Wen Nuan, waiting to hang up the phone and greet Wen Nuan. When he heard that Wen Nuan's car had crashed, Lin Zongheng's first thought was that he was worried about Wen Nuan, and then he was overjoyed. Wen Nuan's car was broken down, didn't he just have a chance? Already. Unexpectedly, Wen Nuan openly told Li Jinhe that he had a car crash. Could it be that Li Jinhe's temper had improved? While he was thinking, Nuan had already left the parking garage. Nuan had already gotten into the taxi when Lin Zongheng trotted out to chase him. Nuan ignored Lin Zongheng from the beginning to the end and did not give him a chance to speak. Maybe Nuan didn't even noticing the existence of Lin Zongheng. Her mind now was not about Han Jian or Lin Zongheng, but only the vixen Yan Qingqing. At this time, Yan Qingqing was also looking at the warm information. She was simply in a good mood and had nothing to do. Tisk, 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 she is really a rich lady who was born with a golden spoon. She has a good family background, and she is beautiful. Why did she marry Han Jian? Why did she let such a person go and leave Chang Xiang? She must be stupid. Well, I heard that Kidian has changed the rules, so, come with any ticket, and please whip me as much as you like. Happy New Year. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 35. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Han Jian couldn't stand the atmosphere in the general department anymore. He was beaten while doing some work. Han Jian got up and walked out of the general department. He went to the main entrance to smoke and waited for work. After Han Jian left the general department, he heard Lu Zhuolong. He seemed to be a little dissatisfied with these colleagues. Of course, he was doing it for Yang Lan. Chatting with the little girl at the front desk on the first floor. The little girl didn't dare to have too much contact with Han Jian for fear of getting into trouble. Han Daxian was the one who received special care from Mr. Yan. Standing at the main entrance of Glory, he was about to get a cigarette when a cigarette appeared in front of him. Han Jian turned his head and was slightly startled. Then he smiled and took the cigarette, took out a lighter and lit it for the other party. Then he lit a cigarette for himself and took a deep breath. The mellow smell entered his lungs, and Han Jian let out a long sigh of relief. Gao Xin was smiling while looking at the street in the distance. His smile was different from others. When he smiled, his upper and lower teeth were not separated. The old man in the family always said that smiling with bared teeth would make you look stupid, but Han Jian didn't. In Gao Jingxing's body, I found a silly temperament, but a bit of a dissolute ruffian. Smoking habit? Gao Jianxing asked, but his eyes did not move. It seemed that the cars on the street were more interesting than Han Jian. Han Jian replied with a smile. It's easy to go from frugality to luxury. If you want to get used to it, the money in your pocket won't allow it. Gao Xing took a puff of cigarette, blew out the smoke and showed a self-deprecating smile. At the beginning, I was thinking the same thing as you. I was working very hard to make 100 yuan a day. When I saw someone smoking 100 yuan cigarette, I thought, how much money do they make in a day, but I don't envy it. Because I know I can be like them one day, and it's not a bad thing for people in their 20s to have a little confidence in themselves. Haha, Mr. Gao is right. Han Qian didn't know the details of Gao Jinshi and didn't know how to answer. He could only say yes, and Gao Jinshi said with a smile. Han Qian, right? You have been in the company for a few days. Honor is more humane than other companies. I think you should be used to it, right? Mr. Yan is young and energetic. He comes from a rural area. He is not as good as the ladies in the city. Please take more care of some things. Mr. Yan is actually fine. He is also thinking about the company. Han Qian looked at Gao Jishi and spoke tentatively. Yang Lan said that Gao Jishi and Yan Qingqing were not on good terms, and the company was divided into two factions. Yan Qingqing was Chen Yejin, who came out halfway, and naturally he could not convince the crowd at his young age. Gao 11 Jinping is the brother-in-law of the largest shareholder. He has been here since the beginning of the company. He naturally has supporters, but is he speaking for Yan Qingqing now? Gao Jingcheng seemed to pay attention to Han Qian's words, threw away most of the cigarette left in his hand, and smiled. The airport's plan is very good, but I don't understand why you would go to work in the general department. The planning department and the project department are very suitable for you. No matter how bad the marketing department and the business department are, you can also control them. The general department has buried talents. It's not much different from a nursing home. What can a group of people who are despondent about playing with things get together? What Mr. Gao said makes sense. When I first came here, I interviewed in the planning department, but then my contract was suddenly changed and I went to the general department. It's the same wherever I go. It's God's arrangement, as long as I can make money. Oh? Did you make President Yan the same person? It's a good idea, but it's a pity that women can only hold up for half a day. If you think this cigarette is good, go to the office to get it from me. I have always been very generous with talents. Besides, the general department will be disbanded sooner or later. After finishing his words, Gao Xingxing spoke softly to the distance. Do you know who drives a Porsche in our company? Except for Yan Qingqing's eye-catching Raptor, all the company's cars are very low-key. Han Qian was still thinking about what Gao Jishi had just said. Han Qian, who was suddenly distracted by the topic, followed Gao Jishi's gaze and his face instantly became flattered. Why did Li Jinhe's car drive to the main entrance of Glory? At the same time, a small red BMW 320 parked in front of the company's main entrance. Sun Ya, who was all dressed up, got out of the car with her bag, wearing a white suit that looked a bit stylish. She came to pick up Gao Fulai. When she saw Gao Fulai and Han Qian standing together, she didn't step forward because she didn't like Han Qian. But then she realized that neither of them were looking at her. Sun Ya frowned and looked at the slowly approaching white Porsche Panamera with hostility. The car stopped right in front of the small BMW. Han Qian was confused. Should he go down and block Wen inside the car and not get out? That would leave Gao Fulai here, otherwise Nguyen Wen's appearance would attract attention. When Han Qian was struggling, Gao Fulai spoke. Enjoy shareholder Li Jinhe's car? Haha, their relationship with the Wen family is really strong. The license plate is 1234. What's wrong with Li Jinhe coming to Glory? Han Qian suddenly realized that the sweat on his forehead became even thicker. Li Jinhe didn't like driving very much. She mostly rode a small electric car when she went out, and occasionally drove the A6. What if it wasn't the warmth in the car that was Li Jinhe? Han Qian panicked immediately, but fortunately the car door hadn't been opened yet. At this time, the phone rang. Han Qian looked at the phone number and was slightly startled. Yan Qingqing? Pressing the answer button, Han Qian said softly. Mr. Yan, please look for me. Gao Jishi frowned slightly after hearing the word Mr. Yan, and Yan Qingqing whispered on the phone. Gao Xingcheng is wooing you. Han Qian frowned slightly and whispered. Mr. Yan, I'm going to come out and get some fresh air. I'll be back in a while. There's no need to come back in a hurry. Go ask your mother-in-law why she came to Glory. I saw her car. Han Qian took a deep breath. It seemed that Yan Qingqing knew about his relationship with Wen Nuan. She hung up the phone and smiled at Gao Xingcheng and said softly. Mr. Gao, Mr. Yan wants me to ask. Before he finished speaking, the phone rang again, this time it was Wen Nuan. Han Qian smiled apologetically at Gao Xing and walked down the steps and went straight to Paramela. At this moment, the car door was opened and Wen got out of the car. Wearing a white suit that matched Sun Ya's, the same outfit gave off different feelings, but Han Qian was not in the mood to appreciate Wen Nuan. When he quickly stepped forward, Wen also noticed him and waved to Han Qian with a smile. Han Qian, are you off work? Gao Jingxing, who was about to light a cigarette on the steps, was slightly startled. He frowned and looked at Han Qian's back. Is this newcomer familiar with Changxiang's vice president? Han Qian stepped forward, frowning and gritting his teeth. Miss, you think I don't have enough troubles, don't you? Wen Nuan understood what Han Qian meant, curled his lips and shrugged. My car crashed. When I went to change the car, Li Jinhe asked me to pick you up and go to her place for dinner in the evening. As for the trouble? I disturbed your date with Yan Qingqing? Huh? Were you with Gao Xingcheng just now? Stay away from this guy. Han Qian, I'm doing this for your own good. Is this why you came to Glory? I told you this morning that I will pick you up from get off work today. Han Qian, have you forgotten what I said? Okay. I have something to talk about after get off work. There is still an hour and a half until get off work. Do you want to go buy groceries first? No, I'll wait for you downstairs. Wen Nuan started to play with her little temper again and ignored Han Qian. She turned around and was about to return to the car when she saw Sun Ya across from her. Wen's face suddenly darkened. This woman looked at Han Qian with something in her eyes. Contempt and hostility. Women know women best. Qing sighed and spoke in a voice that was not too loud or too small, just enough for people around him to hear. If Glory were all like this, sister wouldn't have to worry about picking you up. Sun Ya looked angry, while Wen Nuan closed the door and hit the accelerator and parked in the parking lot outside the main entrance of Glory. Han Qian smiled awkwardly at Sun Ya, and when he turned around, Gao Xingcheng gave her a thumbs up. Face with a lewd smile. Go ahead. Don't keep Mr. Wen waiting too long. You are the hero. I will allow you to leave 2 hours early. Han Qian's heart sank to the bottom, and he knew that he seemed to be trapped in a big whirlpool. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 36. How do I know what Gao Jishi is going to do now? The general department has a lot of objections to me, as if I have implicated them. I went downstairs to smoke and ran into him. I can't tell him that I don't smoke, right? No, I don't know what the grudge is between you and Gao Lu now. Auntie, I am just a part-time worker. What's the point of Vice President Gao wooing me? Is it because I can speak in high-level meetings or something? No, he just said that if you like to smoke, you can go to his office to get it. As for leaving work early, he said it. Then I refused and he said that I like to go to work. Nuan is waiting for me downstairs. What should I do? I have something to talk about on Monday. I feel aggrieved that I was suddenly pulled into your fight. This is not a matter of money. Han Qian, the co-pilot, complained to Yan Qingqing on the other side of the phone. There was no trace of an employee talking to the boss. After hanging up, Han Qian threw the phone on the chair behind him, frowned and cursed softly. They all seemed to be sick. Wen Nuan, who was driving beside him, laughed after hearing this and said softly, "Are you losing your temper? Shouldn't I pick you up?" Han Qian shook his head and sighed. "It has nothing to do with you. It seems that Yan Qingqing and Gao Jishi are not on good terms. That bitch Yan Qingqing said that she would betray her and go with Gao Jishi. Brother Qian, please don't get excited. The internal affairs of Glory are much more chaotic than Changxiang. Gao Jiji is the brother-in-law of Lushenge, the largest shareholder. He is considered a relative of the emperor. Yan Qingqing is a professional manager who suddenly appeared. It is said that Lushenge also tricked her. Come in, the shareholders of honor will not interfere in the management of the company. Gao Jingxing wants to squeeze Yan Qingqing out. Not long ago, when I called my second uncle, I asked about the airport. He told me that honor had already contacted there. Now you think about it from the perspective of Yan Qingqing, a vixen, right? You have become a blockbuster in Glory recently. Nuan parked the car on the side of the road and handed a bottle of water to Han Qian as he spoke. The latter frowned after taking it. Where did it come from? I was so famous in one fell swoop. It's just about the land at the airport. I attended the honor high-level meeting this morning. What position do I have as a part-time worker? When Nuan stretched out her hand and pinched Han Qian's face, forced him to look at her, and said seriously, "Are you thinking carefully? Are you sure it has nothing to do with you? I hope you don't understand, and then leave Glory and continue to help me. In fact, you can completely ignore this injustice. In the hearts of Li Jinhe and Lao Wen, you want them. Isn't it just a matter of one sentence to open a company for you? Have you taken your medicine? I forgot to ask you yesterday." Hearing this, Wen Nuan let go of the hand holding Han Qian's face, changed the topic and said that he was going to buy groceries. As soon as he got off the car, Han Qian grabbed the back collar and stuffed it into the passenger seat. Han Qian drove instead. It's extremely difficult to get you to take medicine. Whether you like it or not, I won't be the one who gets sick. Don't take it. Don't take even one pill. I shouldn't buy you medicine. Just open your mouth and swallow it. Okay, it's not bitter. Is it difficult to eat? Huh? Is it difficult? Stop, 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 stop inking, eat. Eat now, buy it. There was only a moment of seriousness in the car, and then Han Qian's chatter became unharmonious because Wen didn't take medicine. He drove all the way to the supermarket where the landlord's sister worked, and Wen angrily went to get a small bottle. After pushing the cart, Han Qian ran all the way to the nearby pharmacy. When Wen Nuan saw the 2 pills and mineral water in Han Qian's hand, she felt bad. After drinking the medicine, Wen pushed the cart straight to the seafood market. While buying crabs, Han Qian kept telling her, "I'm wondering which crab is fat and which is thin, and how to make it delicious." Wen Nuan was so angry that he grabbed Han Qian and punched him with his small fist. Han Qian felt no pain. Wen Nuan angrily threw the car to Han Qian and turned around to leave. Han Qian scratched his head in embarrassment. Wen Nuan seemed to be angry and cried. Wen Nuan didn't want to buy seafood. She liked to eat it, but Han Qian was soft-hearted and refused to eat it. Wen just wanted to scare him. As a result, Han Qian forced her to buy seafood. Wen still couldn't bear it. In the end, she felt aggrieved and her eyes were moist. Now Han Qian finally panicked. After being together for so long, he had never seen Wen Nuan cry several times. He was still angry and cried. Han Qian was worried that Wen would suddenly call his mother. If her mother knew that Wen was crying, she can come tonight to clear the door. Qian's mother's love for Wen Nuan really hurt her to the core. From the first time she met Wen Nuan and heard that she was the daughter-in-law of the Han family, Qian's mother went to the surrounding temples to burn incense after returning home. This was such a blessing. How can I have such a sensible daughter-in-law? Han Qian poked Nuan's shoulder with his finger, but there was no reaction. The woman lowered her head and walked forward without looking at the road. Han Qian didn't apologize. He stepped forward and grabbed Nuan's hand. Nuan struggled for a few times. If he succeeded, he opened his mouth and bit Han Qian's hand. Han Qian quickly took a tomato and stuffed it into Wen's mouth. Wen ate the tomatoes with enthusiasm. Han Qian held Wen's hand and the cart in one hand. I met the landlady in the daily necessities area. She was a warm-hearted person. Before Han Qian could say anything, she threw a black plastic bag into the car and smiled. Don't look at it. It's just a few towels. Young men are careless. How can a girl only have 2 towels? You are so lucky to have such a beautiful girlfriend. Han Qian opened his mouth and smiled silently. Sister, you must have been a village beauty when you were young. Haha, do you have anything to do after get off work tomorrow? Let's take the kids to have a meal at home. As a tenant, I must please my landlord. Apart from other things, I am a cook. His skills are definitely at the level of a chef. Huh? You don't sound too petty, and I won't be pretentious with you as a sister, but I have to buy this dish. It's not easy for you two to save some money. You can't refuse. Hey, it's late. I've finished buying all the groceries. That's it? I'll take the kids there tomorrow. After the kids get to know me well, they can come and ask me if they have any homework they don't understand. Han Qian and the landlady laughed and joked, while Nuan stood aside like a lump of wood, eating tomatoes without saying a word. Han Qian squeezed her hand several times to make her speak, but Wen remained silent. She has been so cowardly and bad-tempered for a day or two, and she has already lost all her ability with her family members. After going out and getting in the car, Han Qian frowned and looked at Nuan who was drinking yogurt and said, "Why don't you say anything when you meet someone? The toothbrush and towel you use are all prepared for you by my eldest sister. Where are the abilities of you and me? You don't even say thank you when people compliment you on your beauty." Nuan held the yogurt in his hands and whispered back, "I don't know what to say. She's not complimenting me, she's just stating a fact. I'm very beautiful." Han Qian curled his lips and whispered, "Then I'll compliment you on your big breasts next time. Do you want to die?" Warmth breaks out. Then he pinched it unconsciously, with a look of despair on his face. Happy New Year. Another comment section. I'm sorry. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 37. Along the way, Nuan always wanted to get the snacks from the back seat. Han Qian frowned and said that she would have dinner in the evening. Nuan said that she would eat 3 big bowls. Han Qian still refused to let her eat snacks. While chatting, Lao Wen called. Nuan turned on the speakerphone and told Lao Wen that they were on their way home. Lao Wen listened and said, "What? You said Xiao Qian wants to have a drink with me? What kind of drink do you think this kid would drink if it's not the New Year or the festival? Since Xiao Qian is sincere, I, the father-in-law, can't help but give him face, so I'll drink some." Han Qian looked at the car with a confused look on his face. When did he say he wanted to drink? Nuan gritted his teeth with a gloomy face. Han Qian doesn't drink. Ah. You said you two are together? Xiao Qian, please stop buying wine from outside. Is there any wine left at Jinhe's house? Xiao Qian said he wanted to have some drinks with my father-in-law. It's lively, and I can't wait without me. Go buy it upstairs, don't let the 2 kids get in and out of the car busy. Lao Wen was talking to himself on the phone. Nuan was so angry that he hung up the phone. Han Qian took a deep breath and felt a little sorry for Lao Wen. He had taken great pains to drink some wine now. As expected, he called them both home for dinner today. It was because Lao Wen was so thirsty for wine. It was only 5 o'clock when we arrived at Prince Xingjia's mansion. When the door opened, Lao Wen was already waiting at the door. He winked at Han Qian and Wen Nuan and signaled the two children not to expose their secrets to him. Wen Wen was too lazy to pay attention to Lao Wen's useless energy. Went to her room to change clothes, and also brought Han Qian a set of clothes that Lao Wen had not worn yet. The father-in-law and son-in-law sneaked into the kitchen. Lao Wen was washing and chopping vegetables, and Han Qian was cooking. Lao Wen suddenly closed the kitchen door and said loudly that he was afraid of the fumes escaping, and then asked Han Qian if he had taken any cigarettes. "Come over." Han Qian shook his head and then shouted. "Warm, give me my coat." The sliding door was opened. Wen Nuan did not take the clothes, but simply handed a pack of cigarettes to Han Qian. With a look of reluctance, he closed the sliding door forcefully and left. Old Wen on the side gave Han Qian a thumbs up. "I have never dared to be so forceful with your mother in my life. Although Wen Nuan is my daughter, buy some good cigarettes next time." "I don't have money to tell Dad." Han Qian lit a cigarette for Lao Wen and grinned. "What? Do you have a small treasury? If I tell Mom, I might be rewarded with more cigarettes." Lao Wen disapproved and curled his lips. "Talk less and smoke more. Enjoyment is hard won." At the dinner table, Lao Wen got his wish and got the opportunity to drink. Of course, Han Qian was not let go. Han Qian was really not good at liquor. He only had half a cup and risked his life to accompany his father-in-law. When finally got to eat the crab he had been longing for. It was Li Jinhe who made it. Of. Lao Wen sipped his wine and asked with a look of enjoyment on his face, squinting his eyes. "Han Qian, I heard Wen Nuan nagging you this afternoon that you made some noise at Glory. Mr. Yan of Glory pays great attention to you." Han Qian scratched his head and smiled awkwardly. No, don't listen to Wen Nuan." After finishing his words, Nuan handed the crab to Han Qian and said. "Lao Wen, don't be fooled by Han Qian. When I drove to pick him up at around 3 o'clock, I met Gao Jishi. Gao Jishi told Han Qian that he could leave work early. This was no small news. Han Qian didn't eat crabs. He knew that Wen Wen was also for him to eat. He broke open the crab and handed it to Wen Wen. He raised his wine glass and motioned for the two of them to drink. He wanted to change the subject, but unfortunately he failed. Lao Wen took a big sip of wine. Finally, with a slightly red face, he put a piece of ribs in Han Qian's bowl and said softly. "You said you kid, why don't you eat seafood? And don't be humble in front of me. Do I know how capable you are? If you are a loser, your mother and I won't be able to. Xiao Nuan entrusts you, let alone whether you are divorced or not. What if the law recognizes it? My daughter and son-in-law, if I don't recognize you, it won't be considered divorced, do you understand? The matter of divorce. Drinking, she's verbose, she's a little too warm, but she has a kind personality. I haven't tolerated your mother's temper for 30 years. I'll just say it's not like my father-in-law's personality. I can't force you, can I? I like to nag as I get older, so let's not talk about these things and tell you about your work at Glory." After the matter was briefly explained, Lao Wen's face darkened. After drinking down the glass of wine, he stood up, patted Nuan's shoulder and returned to the room. The matter had passed, and he didn't want to say anything more. Li Jinhe also noticed feeling Lao Wen's loneliness. He stood up and ran to the bedroom. At the dinner table, Han Qian looked at Wen Nuan, who looked at Han Qian, and then handed Han Qian a crab and whispered. "Brother Qian, help me break it open. Lao Wen seems unhappy." Han Qian broke open the crab and drank the wine without answering. Lao Wen's mood in the room was very complicated. He was sitting on the edge of the bed smoking a cigarette. Li Jinhe surprisingly did not put out Lao Wen's cigarette. He just asked softly, "Is it serious?" Lao Wen shook his head. "It's not serious, but it's not serious either. Yan Qingqing will firmly sit in the position of Honor's general manager, and she still has a head start. I'm thinking that if this plan gives Nuan, she will have a firm foothold in the company." Hey! As expected, the deal between Xiao Qian and Yan Qingqing was for money. After the plan was passed, the senior management noticed that this kid, if he needs money, just open his mouth. "If I don't give Nuan the money, I will give it to him." Huh? Wenshu, are you talking about human language? You don't understand Xiao Qian's character yet? Has he lowered his head and spoken? You should give money instead of waiting for Xiao Qian to ask for money. If he can open his mouth and ask his father-in-law for money, money means it's not Han Qian anymore. Okay, everything is over. Get ready to prepare the room and keep the two children from leaving. Lao Wen couldn't express the pain in his heart. He lost a watermelon but couldn't pick up the sesame seeds. Within 2 minutes, Li Jinhe's roar came from the living room. "Little white-eyed wolf!" Han Qian and Nuan ran away. Before leaving, Han Qian secretly packed up the crabs for Wen Nuan and took away 2 of Li Jinhe's cigarettes from the TV cabinet. He originally wanted to keep the 2 little bastards at home for the night. I didn't expect it. Wen Nuan laughed all the way while driving. She was not angry at all because Han Qian's plan was given to Yan Qingqing. On the contrary, it felt so good to steal things from home with Han Qian. Han Qian didn't know how to drink liquor. He got drunk when he saw the wind downstairs. After going home and going upstairs, Han Qian returned to the room and fell asleep without even putting on his clothes. Nuan curled his lips. It's the second weekend after the divorce. I've already said it, it's not time travel, there's no superpower, why are there still people saying that the protagonist has traveled through time? Also, I'm not from a female channel. I am a serious old man. Sorry, I was a little cranky. I'll kill him now to cheer up everyone. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 38. When I opened my eyes, I fumbled for my phone and found that it was gone. I didn't even want to give away antique gadgets. Wen Nuan took them away without even thinking. After the divorce, Wen became a little weird. When they got married, they ignored Han Qian. He seemed to think that since he already had it, no one else could take it away. After the divorce, Han Qian seemed to have become a hot commodity. Han Qian seems to be very popular indeed. He can go to the hall and kitchen, beat gangsters, and even roll into a big bed. He is a misophobic person who always cleans the house and cooks good food outside. Another person who has the ability to solve any work problems. He is not tall, only 178 centimeters tall, but he is not short. He is not fat and has a little muscle. His appearance is not comparable to that of celebrities, but he is still handsome. His fair skin makes him less bookish and naughty, and makes him look more like a tough guy. Especially his size. If I have to talk about shortcomings, it would be that he is less sweet talking to women and is a poor man who is heavily in debt. The bathroom upstairs was occupied by Wen Nuan. When Han Qian went downstairs to wash up, Wen was already sitting on the sofa eating potato chips and starting to work. When he saw Han Qian coming downstairs, Wen threw the antique to Han Qian and said softly. The landlady called and said she had something to ask you. She seemed a little embarrassed and hung up the phone halfway through. Han Qian flipped through the call records on his phone and frowned. You didn't say anything, right? You're just as capable as me. Do you want to eat anything in the morning? What I said doesn't count. Wen Nuan had an indifferent expression on her face. She was telling the truth. Breakfast did not count as she said. She would eat whatever Han Qian did. Han Qian walked into the bathroom with his mobile phone and dialed the landlady. He brushed his teeth and waited for the other party to answer. Then Han Qian saw a few warm clothes hidden in his change of clothes. At this time, the call was connected. Xiao Qian, were you sleeping this morning? I'm sorry. Han Qian picked out the warm clothes one by one. He didn't have any difficulty in washing the clothes. He just threw them into the washing machine. But can these white clothes be worn after being washed with colored clothes? Still hiding inside? Fortunately, I'm on the phone. Ah. I drank some wine last night. It was Wen Nuan who answered the phone in the morning. She is so temperamental that she doesn't dare to talk to others. If you have anything to do with me, just say it. We sisters don't need such politeness. While talking, Han Qian stuffed the warm clothes into the washing machine. There was silence on the other side of the phone for a few seconds, and the landlady sighed. Xiao Qian, actually I shouldn't bother you with this matter, but I really have no choice. Do you need money? I'll give you half a year's rent. No, 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 it's not money. I still have some money in my hand now. Hey. It's that kid Jiai. He imitated other people's jealousy and got into fights at school. Today, his parents went to the school with a lot of people. This child Jiai has always hated his grandfather's relatives. He has not had any contact with him for so many years. My sister doesn't know anyone here. Jiai didn't dare to go to school in the morning, so I sent him there. Now my sister. I understand. Sister, please send me his school and class information via text message. I will go to the school to see him later. If anything happens to us sisters, please tell me. If you hadn't waived my 2-month deposit, I still don't know where to live. Okay, Han Qian, I really don't know how to thank you. Just bring Jiai back. If that doesn't work, I'll transfer him to another school. I'll be waiting for you at the school gate. No, you just go to work. Han Qian hung up the phone and frowned. It was not easy for the landlord's eldest sister to be an orphan and a widowed mother. There was absolutely no way for the eldest sister to talk to Han Qian. The college entrance examination would be next year. At this juncture, transferring to another school might have affected her studies. But it will take a lifetime. After 9 years of cold and summer, isn't it just waiting to pass the college entrance examination? After walking out of the bathroom, before Han Qian could speak, Nuan had already stood up and walked to the bathroom door, frowning. You transferred 70,000 to me. Han Qian nodded, and then Wen Nuan raised his head and grabbed Han Qian's head with a headbutt. Han Qian was knocked dizzy and covered his head and asked Wen Nuan why he was so crazy. Wen Nuan gritted his teeth, glared at Han Qian fiercely, and said angrily. Come back and bring me some liangpi. I don't want to eat today. Oh. It seemed that Wen Nuan had heard the call just now. Han Qian took the car keys on the coffee table, put on a set of sportswear and went out. When he got downstairs, Han Qian suddenly regretted that he had forgotten to change the car in Nuanwen, and drove this isn't it too eye-catching to go to school. When Han Qian was about to take a taxi to school, he found that he had no money, and his mobile phone did not support advanced functions such as mobile payment. Fortunately, the gas in the car was full and he drove to Haihua Middle School. After all, the landlady was still waiting for Han Qian at the school gate. When she saw the white luxury car appearing at the school gate, she breathed a sigh of relief, fearing that it was someone called by the other party's family. When she saw Han Qian get out of the car, at this time, the eldest sister hurriedly ran forward and gently slapped Han Qian on the shoulder, somewhat unwilling to say anything. Xiao Qian, I'm just here to pick up Jiai. How much does it cost to rent this car for a day? I don't know if 1000 yuan is enough. Just take it. Han Qian smiled bitterly and quickly refused. No, 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 the car belongs to the boss of the company. I drove it back after working overtime last night. Jiai must have seen me, right? Just wait for me here. I can just go by myself. The other party doesn't know my identity. I don't dare to make any mistakes in my relationship with Jiai, otherwise I think you're a woman and you'll definitely get worse. Give me the phone number of Jiai's head teacher first. He persuaded the eldest sister to go into the car and wait. In fact, the eldest sister really shouldn't have gone in. She gave people the first impression that she was cowardly and easy to bully. Not only would she not be able to bring any help to Jiai, but it would also let the other party know. This kid Jiai has no confidence. Although the eldest sister was worried, she still agreed to Han Qian. I called the class teacher by the car and told him that he was Jiai's uncle and that he came to the school to see the children. Not long after, he saw a young woman with eyes running towards her. She was about the same age as Han Qian. The stumbling one was a little worse than the warm sports cells. Seeing this, Han Qian also walked towards the school gate and smiled at Jiai's head teacher. Hello, Teacher Tong, I am Li Jiai's brother-in-law. My sister called me and said that her child was being bullied at school. She came here specially to see how my nephew was doing. When Tong Yao looked at Han Qian looking at his car with some suspicion, the landlady got out of the car. Seeing this, Tong Yao believed that this young man was Li Jiai's uncle. The guard opened the school gate, and Han Qian said the landlady made an okay gesture and then followed the class teacher into the school. On the way, Tong Jiao still didn't believe that Han Qian was Li Jiai's uncle, and asked in confusion. Your surname is Han? Jiai's mother's surname is Sunday. Of course my cousins have different surnames. My mother and Jiai's grandmother are related. Oh. Where is Mr. Han's job? Glory Group. Oh. Both of them were silent. When they came to class 11 of the third year, nursery rhymes interrupted the teacher who was giving a lecture. Before he could speak, he told Jiai that his uncle was here. When Li Jiai walked out of the class and looked at Han Qian in confusion, he was hugged by Han Qian. He held his shoulders and whispered. Is it surprising? Li Jiai nodded. Uncle, my mother asked you to come here? Take me home. It's nonsense, isn't it? But it's not right. Let's not go home. I want to see whose parents are so awesome and even chase them to school. Teacher Tong, please call the parents of the other party. Don't always show off your power with your children. Yes, this is not good. Tong Jiao looked at Han Qian with a kind face, and her heart skipped a beat. This young uncle seemed not as talkative as he appeared. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 39. Li Jiai didn't have much resistance or alienation towards Han Qian. He was quite familiar with the young man. He had heard his mother mention Han Qian several times and made an appointment to go to his uncle's house for dinner today. Most of the boys had forgotten what happened in the morning. He would laugh at Han Qian about this matter, but Han Qian couldn't laugh. The corners of his eyes were bruised, the side of his face was swollen, he was constantly sucking in air conditioning while talking, and his mouth should be broken. This was just an injury on his face. Before he looked at his body, Han Qian's face had become ugly. Li Jiai had been injured since he was very young. Without a father, in other people's eyes, he is just like other children, eating and going to school. But they don't know that a child without a father lacks the self-confidence he should have. He also lacks a supporter like other children. How does the mother deal with this? There was nothing he could do to make up for the protection and courage his father should have given him. Children without a father have many things to worry about. What if the father comes to take action? What should I do if the other person makes things difficult for my mother? There is no pillar in the house, no stalwart figure to protect the family from wind and rain. Han Qian was very angry and distressed. Following the nursery rhyme, I walked to the office. The other teachers in the office seemed to have a good impression of Li Jiayi. They smiled back and asked softly. Han Qian pulled up a chair and sat across from Tang Jiao and said softly. Teacher Tong should have just started teaching as a teacher, right? Tong Yao was stunned for a moment, then nodded his head cutely and said seriously. 3 months. Han Qian nodded lightly, pulled up a chair for Li Jiayi to sit down, and chuckled. It can be seen that I just heard about the fight between Jiayi and his classmates. I heard that some parents brought people from society to the school to intimidate my nephew. Then please call Teacher Tong and tell them to get back. Bullies, what does it mean if a child just slaps his butt and leaves? My nephew is about to take the high school entrance examination in the 3rd grade of junior high school. This has left a psychological shadow. If he fails the exam, should I ask your school to let people from the public enter the academy privately, or should I find someone to fight him back? Right. Other teachers in the office put down their pens one after another. They had already witnessed that scene in the morning. Li Jiayi's mother, dressed simply in the office, kept apologizing, hoping that the other party could forgive Li Jiayi. She originally thought that the matter was over, but she didn't expect this. The man who calls himself Li Jiayi's uncle doesn't seem to want to expose the matter easily. Tong Yao was a little embarrassed. She had just practiced for a short period of time, and something like this had already had a great impact on her. If she called people back and had a big fight, she would probably be fired halfway through the internship. Mr. Han, this matter has passed, and the parents of several students have forgiven Jiayi. You see, if this matter continues, it will also affect the children's study at school. It's over? My nephew was beaten like this and you told me it's over? Teacher Tong, I'm telling you this matter calmly now. If you can't take care of it or don't want to take care of it, just ask the dean or the principal to come over. To prevent me from finding a few social youths to block the school gate tomorrow morning to take care of those children. This is obviously a gangster. All the teachers in the office thought so. Even though they looked polite, their angry words were not soft at all. Han Qian stopped talking about the nursery rhyme and turned to ask Li Jiayi the reason for the fight. The reason is indeed because of jealousy. Li Jiayi has a very close female classmate. They go to school, have classes, eat and finish school together basically. As time goes by, some classmates make fun of them and say that they are in a relationship or having an affair. Li Jiayi responds to this. He didn't deny or admit it, and continued to get along with his female classmates according to his ideas. Then he provoked a kid named Li Bo in the class. He seemed to like this female classmate. Seeing him and Li Jiayi stuck together, he felt extremely excited and poured a large basin of water on the girl. The weather was still very hot in summer. The school uniforms were not thick, and the girl's underwear was clearly visible after the water was poured down. Then Li Bo used the excuse of helping to wipe the clothes and stretched out his hands on the girl. Li Jiayi moved his hands after seeing it. 4 children hit him, but he only punched the one named Li Bo and broke the corner of his mouth. After hearing this, Han Qian sighed in his heart. They are really energetic and a little precocious children. Think about when he was in junior high school, he was still talking about glass balls in the pit. After getting a general understanding of the matter, when Han Qian asked Li Jiayi if he was injured, a middle-aged woman walked into the office. The woman was very tall, almost as warm as the others. She was very fashionable and wore a pair of glasses. About 43 or 4 years old. When the teachers in the office saw the woman coming, They all stood up to prepare for class. Tanjeo also stood up and called the director in a low voice, but Han Qian ignored him and opened Li Jiayi's clothes to look at the injuries on his arms and back. There were bruises, redness, and swelling in several places, and it seemed that someone had touched the guy, and it didn't look like he had been hit with fists at all. The dean sat at the nursery rhyme table, looked at Li Jiayi with cold eyes, and said coldly, "It's time for class, you go back to class first." Li Jiayi seemed to be afraid of the dean. He stood up and was about to go back, but Han Qian held his shoulders and pinned him down on the chair. Seeing this, the dean frowned and said coldly, "Li Jiayi's uncle? Since the other party no longer holds Li Jiayi responsible, it would be good if this matter is revealed. There is no need to make too much of a fuss. The high school entrance examination will be in 1 semester, and a temporary transfer is not good for anyone." These words made Han Qian feel very uncomfortable. He turned around and asked with a frown, "Should you introduce yourself before speaking? Otherwise, I would have thought you were the mother of those children. Now it is not them who are going to hold Jiayi accountable, but I am going to hold them accountable. Besides, my surname is Han. Being a teacher should have some basic education and qualities." "Ah." The dean sneered and said again, "Mr. Han, are you still holding the other party responsible? Don't you know that Li Bo and 4 other classmates have been hospitalized? Li Jiayi's family is not well off. If his mother hadn't come to plead for mercy this morning, and the other party wouldn't be pursuing the medical expenses, what else would you want? Hospitalized? Whoever is hospitalized is the weak one. You don't get to say who is right or wrong. If you are biased, then let's go to the police station to examine the injuries and determine the blame. If Jiayi really beats them up, how much will the medical expenses be? I'm out." After saying this, Han Qian threw the car keys on the table, not to show off intentionally, but because it would be very useful. The Porsche car key was turned around on the desk, and Han Qian said coldly, "Now I see that my nephew's injury is not serious. It is not an injury that can be beaten out in a minute or two. After I hold them accountable, I will hold your school accountable. I can really do it with the Education Bureau. Just say a few words, do you want me to call the Education Bureau?" To be honest, Han Qian really didn't want to make this call. There was a real connection. The lover of Aunt Zhao, who should be called Aunt, was from the Education Bureau and was the kind of person with real power. However, Aunt Zhao forced Han Qian to do it every time he saw her. "Call me Sister Zhao, and then ask some private questions. How many times have you slept with Nuan in a month? Have you ever felt exhausted?" Moreover, this is not the kind of question that is asked in a low voice, regardless of occasion or location. It is said that Nuan is regarded as a relative. "My daughter, you have to care about Xiao Nuan's married life no matter what." The dean was a little unsure of the young man's identity, and after thinking for 2 minutes, he said coldly to nursery rhyme, "Call the other parent and see if you have time to come to the school." After saying this, Han Qian stood up, stretched, and stretched his muscles lazily. "Tell them to bring more people." After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, A Huan. Chapter 40. The dean went out to make phone calls. Tong Yao, who stayed in the office, pushed up his glasses and whispered, "Mr. Han, what you do will affect Li Jiayi's image in the minds of other students." Han Qian raised his head and frowned at the teacher who was still in the internship stage. "Then what? You have to endure a beating? You think you have to endure a beating? Is it okay if I give you a good beating now? How can you hit a woman? A woman is not a human being." Tong Yao couldn't find a reason to refute the sentence and sat down on the chair angrily. Not long after, the dean came back and sat down with a gloomy face. He knocked on the table. Tong Yao quickly stood up and gave up his seat. The dean he spoke in an official tone. Mr. Han, it is not a big deal for students to fight at school. Quarrels will inevitably occur between students. The school will do its best to handle the matter and give you a satisfactory answer. Now the other parent cannot come to school because of something, so please go back first. When we notify you, several parents will meet to discuss this matter. Han Qian sat motionless on the chair and did not speak. The dean said something after seeing this. Besides, the cause of this incident is indeed the jealousy caused by classmate Li Jiayi's puppy love. The school is very lenient by not giving him a demerit. This was uncomfortable to hear. Han Qian frowned and looked at the old woman and said coldly. Is there a relationship between puppy love and fighting and hurting others? I would like to ask whether puppy love is a crime or which law is violated. Puppy love is just a rule of your school. When they injured my nephew, they violated the laws of society. What can the two do? Confused. They can't come, can they? Okay, I will contact Jiayi now to take Jiayi to examine his injuries. Jiayi, go ask your little girlfriend and ask him if Li Bo has touched her or something, raped and molested her. Prosecution of Li Bo on attempted charges. The teacher was stunned for a while listening to the nursery rhyme. The face of the instructor became very ugly. He gritted his teeth and stood up and went out to make a phone call. Han Qian had already understood that the teaching director was either related to Li Bo or was after collecting the money. Han Qian took Li Jiayi out to have a meal with the landlord's eldest sister at noon, which was considered a blessing to the eldest sister. After the meal, Han Qian returned to school. At around 1 o'clock, Li Bo's parents came to school. They were well dressed in suits and leather shoes. They looked like successful people. Within a few minutes, other parents of other children also came to school. Li Bo's parents seemed to be successful people. The dean came forward to show his kindness. Han Qian sat on the chair in the office without even raising his head. The parents met in the office, and the landlady also sat next to Han Qian. When she saw Li Bo's parents, she wanted to get up, but Han Qian grabbed her hand and motioned not to move. Then she raised her head and stood in front. Dad, Li Bo said. Let's not talk nonsense. You kids beat my nephew. Should we keep it private or just call the police and let the police handle it? If we keep it private, we just need to bring your kids over here. How do you beat my nephew back? Call the police and we will examine the injuries and determine the responsibility. Li Bo's father wore a pair of glasses and was tall and thin with an arrogant look. He didn't even look at Han Qian. Instead, he cast a threatening look at the landlady and said coldly. It's up to you. If you want to call the police, call the police. Now my son is still lying in the hospital and can't get out of bed. If you want to send Li Jiayi to a juvenile detention center, that's up to you. The landlady was a little anxious and a little scared. How could they, orphans and widowers, fight with these people? But Han Qian didn't panic and sneered. Okay, let's call the police now. Your son Li Bo was involved in the danger of raping and molesting a female classmate. It's not certain who will be sent to the juvenile detention center. Besides, don't talk about hospitalization. It's like suffering multiple injuries and determining the injury. What the hospital says doesn't count. While he was talking, Han Qian had already taken out his cell phone. It was not that he wanted to make a call, but that it was a call from Nuan. After Han Qian answered the call, before he could speak, Li Bo's mother shouted in a sharp voice. Han, please stop making trouble here. My son Li Bo is recognized as one of the best students in the school. How could he molest a little girl? Call the police if you want. Don't cry and beg me to let you go. Who doesn't have a relative? Already. When Nuan on the phone heard the sharp voice, and originally wanted to ask Han Qian when he would come back. After hearing the screams of an unknown woman, Wen directly hung up the phone. Han Qian was a little confused and raised his head to look. Li Bo's mother sneered. It doesn't matter whether you are obscene or not. There are many children in the class watching. Since you want to make a big fuss, I will prosecute your son for rape and obscenity. Anyway, there are many students who will testify. Let me see what your relationship is. How hard it is. Li Bo's mother sneered and took out her mobile phone to make a call. After the call was connected, her face became happy and she said brother with a flattering look on her face. After listening for a while, Han Qian probably figured out that he was from the police station near Haihua. The director, surnamed Lu, seemed to have made a promise to her on the phone. When he hung up the phone, he looked arrogant and contemptuous. Han Qian frowned. Li Bo's parents did seem to have some relationship. No wonder the dean would flatter them. When he was wondering whether he should let KXI and bring a few young people from society, the phone rang. Unknown number. Han Qian frowned and answered the phone, speaking softly. Hello, Han Qian. There was silence on the phone for 3 seconds, and then there was an ear-splitting roar, full of energy. Hello? You little bastard, you don't even have my phone number. Han Qian was stunned. The voice was indeed unfamiliar, and the roar on the phone was clearly heard by people in the office. Han Qian frowned. I really didn't save my number. Are you Li Jinhai? Little brat, do you want to die? How many people are waiting for me, Li Jinhai, to take the initiative to call them? Little brat, you don't even have your phone number. Second uncle? It was an accident. It was definitely an accident. Was it Nuan who asked you to call me? Didn't I just buy some liangpi late? Go away, I'm not in the mood to care about you and Wen Xianyuan. Why did I hear that you were being embarrassed? The relationship with the other party is quite strong? Is it at the department level or the ministerial level? He's the director of the Haihua Middle School police station. I know, remember to come over and visit our house. Don't act like Wen Shi. Your brother is still waiting for you to come over and give him a lecture. The phone was hung up. When Han Qian raised his head, he found that Li Bo's father's expression was extremely ugly. He lowered his body and asked softly. Mr. Han, does the car outside the school gate belong to you? Han Qian frowned. Panamera? My elder's car. You and Vice President Wen are. Is it related to you? It's okay, Mr. Han, everything is a misunderstanding, everything is a misunderstanding. I am Li Yang, Vice President of the Marketing Department of Changxiang Group. I am glad to meet you. Li Yang took out his business card and held out his hand, but Han Qian had no intention of answering it. At this time, Li Bo's mother's phone rang. The voice of the phone was no softer than Li Jinhai's. He yelled at Li Bo's mother, saying, yes, she was in big trouble. The faces of everyone in the office changed, and Han Qian felt uncomfortable. Why did he get closer to the Wen family? Why did Wen Nuan call the city bureau? At this point, Han Qian was powerless. I don't care what you are doing in Changxiang. I'm dealing with my nephew's affairs now. Li Yang said quickly. It's easy to say, but it's all my fault that the child is too pampered by the little brat Li Bo. I will give him a lesson when I go back and make him apologize to Jiai honestly. Our family will bear all the compensation, as long as you make a request. Boom. The offices were kicked open, and a man with long hair wearing a bright red suit walked into the office with several strong men in black suits, and said angrily. Who splashed water on our eldest daughter and even touched her? Where's the person? I'll chop off 2 fingers and the matter will be settled. It seems that the situation is not what Han Qian said. The guy in the bright red suit was wearing a plaid shirt, and he was shouting miss in a gangster manner. No matter what, these guys didn't look like good people, and they spoke extremely arrogantly. Li Yang's face became ugly, and he said to Han Qian could put down his posture and was not afraid of these social gangsters. He straightened up, straightened his suit, and scolded them coldly. This is a society governed by law, what are you doing? The man in the bright red suit was about 31 or 12 years old, with long hair from the 1980s combed into a ponytail. He looked at Li Yang coldly and smiled sarcastically. What? You think my master didn't investigate your identities? What a shitty manager of Changxiang Group. Ask him if Lin Zongheng and that bitch named Wen dare to speak loudly in front of our master. The faces of Li Yang and others became even more ugly. These gangsters were obviously well prepared, but Han Qian stood up and looked at the man in the red suit and said coldly. If there is no doorkeeper at the top, just use welding rods to weld him to death. Don't come out and embarrass yourself. The man in the red suit squinted at Han Qian and raised the corners of his mouth slightly. Ha! What? You want to help him? It's not up to you whether I can help or not. It's not up to you to call someone surnamed Wen. Hey? The suitor of Wen Niang? Boy, are you going out to practice? Han Qian took off his suit and threw it to nursery rhymes, strode towards the man in red, smiled at him, waved his hand and punched him in the face. This sudden move made everyone in the office, including the man in red, unable to recover. After receiving a punch, he grabbed the chair and threw it at Han Qian. Several strong men in black suits behind him were also ready to take action. Han Qian was a little panicked, but he was not afraid. He also grabbed the chair and was about to take action. Tong Yao and several parents were so frightened that they didn't dare to breathe. They didn't expect that this female student's family background was so complicated, and they didn't expect that Han Qian would actually do something to them. The reason was that someone scolded Wen, the vice president of Changxiang Group. Just when the two were about to smash the chair on each other's head at the same time, a childish and angry scolding came from the door. Quan Degu, please put down the chair for me. The man in the red suit reacted very quickly and quickly pulled back the chair. The other hand grabbed the chair that Han Qian had knocked down. Several men in black suits stood up straight at the same time, folded their hands in front of them, bowed and shouted in unison. Miss.